This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Chapter 2 of Why We Sleep, where we're diving into the fascinating world of sleep architecture and breaking down what's actually happening when you drift off each night. We'll explore the different stages your brain cycles through, from that light doze where you can still hear everything, to the deep restorative sleep your body craves, all the way to REM where your wildest dreams come alive. Let's get into it. You spend about a third of your life unconscious, yet your brain is following a precise schedule. Tonight, as you drift off, your body will quietly rotate through distinct types of sleep, each one with a different job, whether you go to bed at 10 or at 2. Think about the last time you woke up feeling strangely off, even after a full night in bed. Foggy, irritable, or oddly emotional. That grogginess usually isn't about how long you slept, but which parts of the night your brain actually completed. Sleep isn't just a block of darkness, it's more like a carefully sequenced playlist where some tracks are non-negotiable. Miss the right ones, and your next day quietly pays the price. Here's the twist. Your brain doesn't distribute these tracks evenly. The early part of the night leans heavily toward physical repair, while the later hours tilt toward memory, creativity, and emotional recalibration. Cut sleep at either end, and you selectively delete different benefits. This is why 5 hours may feel fine once, but becomes a slow, cumulative tax on mood, focus, and even appetite control over weeks and months. Here's where sleep architecture becomes surprisingly practical. Those 90 to 110-minute cycles aren't just a curiosity. They quietly shape when it's smartest to go to bed, set alarms, drink caffeine, or schedule heavy workouts. Miss the early cycles too often, and your body may complain with heavier limbs, slower recovery, and more colds. Chop off the late ones, and you might notice sharper cravings, shorter temper, and patchy focus. Even napping, shift work, and weekend catch-up sleep all interact with this nightly pattern in ways that either help or quietly scramble your internal timing. When you first lie down, your brain doesn't slam into off mode, it eases its grip. In the very earliest minutes, awareness fades in and out, muscles twitch, and thoughts dissolve into disjointed fragments. This light entry phase is fragile. You're still easy to wake, but it serves a purpose. Your nervous system is testing the brakes, sampling how far it can lower alertness without losing control. Soon after, the brain settles into a more stable light stage, dominated by brief bursts of activity called sleep spindles and distinctive waveforms known as K-complexes. Spindles are like short security drills. They briefly wall off the cortex from outside noise, so passing sounds don't constantly yank you back to full wakefulness. This is one reason some people can sleep through traffic, but still wake to their own name. The brain is selectively letting some information in while keeping most at bay. In parallel, those spindles are busy rehearsing newly learned skills. Typing patterns, musical fingerings, movement sequences, silently tightening the wiring that turns clumsy practice into smoother performance. As the night deepens, the architecture of these features changes. People who are learning a new motor skill often show an uptick in spindle density over the brain areas controlling the trained body parts. Older adults and people with certain sleep disorders may produce fewer or weaker spindles, which helps explain why learning can feel stickier in youth and more slippery later on. Then there's timing. Because lighter stages form the entry and buffer zones between other parts of the night, anything that fragments sleep, late-night notifications, alcohol, a partner's snoring, tends to inflate this territory. You might log 8 hours on a tracker, yet spend a disproportionate share circling near the surface. Subjectively, that often feels like you were half asleep all night. You technically logged time in bed, but your brain didn't get sustained stretches in its most metabolically efficient modes. Musicians sometimes talk about the importance of the spaces between notes. Light sleep plays a similar role between the heavier, more dramatic phases of the night, shaping how smoothly you transition, how protected your brain is from interruptions, and how well yesterday's practice quietly matures into tomorrow's competence. Think about how this plays out in real life. A gamer grinding late into the night might still clock enough hours, but constant micro-awakenings from notifications stack up extra light sleep. They wake up remembering fragments of dreams, yet their reaction time and coordination feel oddly dulled the next day, especially in fast-paced matches, because those choppy surface stretches quietly stole time from deeper, more efficient modes. Or consider a developer cycling through a tough bug. They finally crash at 2 a.m., then sleep in to compensate. What changes isn't just duration, the distribution of what happens overnight shifts. The earliest part of their night now overlaps with the hours when their brain was designed to be handling a different mix of work. They may still fix the bug tomorrow, but their patience with teammates or ability to hold complex logic in mind can feel strangely out of sync, as if the mental orchestra is playing slightly off-tempo. Skip enough REM-heavy late sleep and your social world starts to warp. Faces feel harder to read, feedback stings more, and small slights loom large. Chronic disruption also blurs your internal risk radar. You may chase bold ideas while underestimating downside, like a trader running on old price data. Your challenge this week: note the exact time you naturally wake without an alarm on 2 days. Then compare your mood and decision confidence to forced alarm mornings. Treat tonight as a quiet experiment. Keep your wake time steady for a week and notice how your days shift. Subtle patterns often surface: clearer conversations, steadier appetite, fewer mental tab crashes. Like tuning an instrument, tiny adjustments can change the whole performance. Your future self is the audience listening for that difference. Before next week, ask yourself: 1. If I look at just last night, what time did I actually fall asleep, and when did I first wake up, and how might that timing be cutting short my longest REM-rich sleep in the early morning hours? 2. What's one thing in my pre-bed routine, like screens, late caffeine, or heavy meals, that's most likely disrupting my deep, slow-wave sleep? And what very specific swap can I try tonight instead? For example, herbal tea instead of coffee after 3 p.m., or a 15-minute wind down without my phone. 3. If I woke up during the night in light sleep, how could I respond differently, mentally and behaviorally, so I don't stress about perfect sleep and instead give my brain the best chance to cycle naturally back into deep and REM sleep? This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!